Millions of Americans tuned in to watch history last night in Houston, and also to, well, watch, or perhaps for some suffer through, the TV spots that aired during commercial breaks of Super Bowl 51. The ads ranged from, well, at least hopefully funny to, however, interestingly political, and left several people still discussing them, as I'm sure all these brands do hope. Today, Adweek staff writer Kristina Monllos saw them all, is here to break them all down, best, worst, etc. And so, Kristina, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Appreciate the time.
Yeah.
Advertisers in the past have tended to go, if we're going to paint monolithically here, comedy seems to be the fallback. Not so, it seemed, this year, however.
I think a good chunk of the ads were still comedic, but then the ones that got people talking, even though they might not be as overtly political as some, having a message of unity under this current political climate can seem as though it's a very political statement.
Before we get to the list, a couple other questions. You know, increasingly, we are a culture that finds ways to not have to watch commercials. Certainly many sports fans can, football fans, avoid them altogether most Sundays. It's interesting then how this feels increasingly quaint, the idea of the Super Bowl ad.
Yeah, I mean, it almost makes it more important because it's the one time of the year where you're like, okay, those eyeballs that are most of the time staring at their mobile phone going, shut up, are actually watching the ads and, you know, planning for them.
And also I was struck, was at watching with some 20-odd people, and many of them were discussed. Increasingly, too, I was struck by how many ads were done by brands without any sort of overt branding, which is to say it forced you online to sort of to search for whatever brand had been behind a commercial. And I thought maybe that's the point. Then now they've hooked you online. They've got you searching for them.
Yeah, that's exactly the point. They want you on your mobile phone searching for their brand so that then they can, you know, up their mentions and get you talking about them.
I was thinking about the Airbnb spot in particular. I was not familiar with the optics of it, and then thought, oh wow, Airbnb, congratulations. All right, so let's get to the list. Adweek ranked the 5 best. Mr. Clean comes in at number 5. Let's take a quick look and listen.
Got what you want, got what you need. Live your dream, must be your fantasy.
Yeah, that is burned into our collective unconscious, if nothing else, but it will haunt your dreams. What worked here?
I think it was the humor and, you know, seeing Mr. Clean take dance lessons from Magic Mike.
Yes. CGI budget, apparently. They had a lot to work with there.
They did.
At Mr. Clean. Audi Super Bowl commercial, it actually focused on gender pay equality. Adweek ranked it number 3. Let's take a quick look and listen.
What do I tell my daughter? Do I tell her that her grandpa's worth more than her grandma? That her dad is worth more than her mom?
All right. As the father of 2 daughters, I'm a sucker for this. I will watch to the very end. Interestingly, though, Frank Luntz conducted a focus group, and earlier on CBS this morning said this one, in fact, did not rate well. You could see the split between the genders, and that at the end, it actually fell flat. Mixed response, perhaps, to it. What do you make of it all?
I wasn't a fan of this one, but that's because Audi isn't necessarily living this truth. You know, they only have 2 women on a board that has like 15 people. So for me, it doesn't work. Every dad I know loves it, though.
So again, and so we can explain this ad just a bit more. As we saw this soapbox derby-ish thing come to life, we do hear this. The narrator, and he's talking, and he's saying what? It sounds like, how could I explain a world of inequality?
Right. It's the recognition as a father that, you know, your daughter will face some different challenges than you will when it comes to gender equality.
And I know it's meant to reach the masses, and certainly they're no more reachable than during a Super Bowl contest. I guess I can understand the mixed response. Number one on the list, one I didn't see, so I'm going to watch it with all of you, or at least a little bit of it here. The 84 Lumber commercial, it also struck a political tone. Let's take a look.
¿Estás lista? Sí.
You mentioned the political climate in which we live. Obviously, one of the reasons many were calling this perhaps the most controversial of a subgroup in dealing with various ideas of immigration. But what'd you make of the response here?
The response to the a lot of people are not a fan of this. A lot of people are. I mean, it's very mixed. It really depends on what your stance on immigration is, and that's going to color your response to this ad. You know, for some people, they were upset that it's showing illegal immigration. For other people, they like the that we're humanizing an immigrant story during a time when the humanity has kind of been drained from that conversation.
Now, I referred, there was another commercial, and again, these were shot months ago, perhaps forecasting the climate, but certainly landing in the climate in which they did, the Anheuser-Busch commercial, which dramatized an immigrant story of one of the co-founders making his way from Germany to America. Again, as we see a bit of it here, an immigration story come true, but as these all were then landing at this place in time in history, is this a test to a degree of all publicity is good publicity?
I mean, that's certainly one take you could have. Another would be that brands have the budget to try and make a statement like this right now, and they can, you know, they have eyeballs watching, so why not do something that will actually get people talking?
All right, so if you had to pick one then that absolutely did not get anybody talking, an ad that for all the pomp and circumstance just fell flat, what would it be?
I mean, people were talking about it, but the the Bieber T-Mobile spot is just the worst.
All right, here we are. We're looking at a little bit of it. Now, is it the worst just because if Justin Bieber walked out in anything, you would resent it immediately, or was it what particularly bothered you about this?
It's charmless, and beyond that, Bieber looks as though he's the younger version of that old Six Flags man.
Oh, that's a very good point. Wow, he
and
does.
It just doesn't work. They're trying so hard.
What's it for, by the way?
Unlimited data, and so it's kind of getting into that.
All right.
It's very gifable, but
what do you see? Get you out here on this one. The future of Super Bowl ads. Have we seen peak Super Bowl ad time? Is it upon us, or does it still have a bit to climb?
I think it still has a bit to climb because we're not even at the point yet where like everyone is not subscribed to cable and this is the only way you can reach them. We'll get there.
Yeah.
We're not there yet.
This may be it. Maybe they'll just be a once-a-year thing, which, you know, on par, not the worst thing in the world. Kristina Monllos,
Thank
very
you for
much
having me.
appreciate the time.